I'm Nyabinga Dzimbahwe, and I'm the head of the Department of Agitation and Propaganda for the African People's Socialist Party. This is the department that is responsible for the publishing of Burning Spit newspaper, Uhuru News, and various other propaganda tools, various other weapons in this war of ideas that we're engaged in. And I say war of ideas because that's exactly what we're involved in. There's a war of ideas that's always being waged against us, even when we don't know that there's a war of ideas. In fact, we're in a school right now. We're in a charter school that has an African-centered curriculum, you know, and that itself is an attempt to engage in the war of ideas. All the time we're getting hit with weapons in this war of ideas. You know, if you go to school, if you watch a movie, or if you listen to the radio, or if you read a newspaper, or do anything where you are viewing any type of media, you can walk down the street and just see a billboard. You are being impacted by a war of ideas. You're being impacted, having ideas imposed on us. And what is this war of ideas for? Well, there's a war of ideas that's being waged for the purpose of maintaining the relationships in the world the way that they are, or better yet, the way that they have been, you know, because they're changing right now. You know, so there's a war of ideas that is being waged against us by our oppressors in order to maintain in our brains these ideas that justify this relationship where all of the wealth, all of the value that belongs to us goes to build for somebody else. In this PowerPoint presentation you see here, you know, 6 media organizations. There's Disney, there's Viacom, there's AOL, Time Warner, which has since split. There's Bertelsmann. There's 6 main media forces who own pretty much all of the media in the world. Most of the mainstream media is owned by these 6 companies. And these 6 companies don't got no interest in no African liberation. They don't have no interest in oppressed peoples who suffer today having access to our own resources. They have an interest in maintaining things just the way that they are because they're big companies. As a result, they're rich folk who run these companies. As a result of the attack on Africa and the continued theft of African resources, both in Africa and from Africans everywhere else around the world. So these institutions are engaged in a war of ideas to maintain that, to keep that wealth going to US and Europe. And you can move the slide. So there's no such thing as an innocent idea. There's no such thing as an innocent idea out there. Every idea in the world represents a particular class interest because we live in a world that's split between classes who have opposing interests. Classes a ruling class, white ruling class that is rich as a result of having taken all the wealth and continuing to take all the wealth from Africans and other oppressed peoples around the world. And so any idea out there represents the interests of that class or an opposing class. This person here is a man named Edward Bernays. And he is known as the father of public relations. That's a nice way to say it, ain't it? The father of messing up your brain and telling you that you should be oppressed. And this is a quote from him. And he was someone who was engaged in this war of ideas in the early 1900s. And in this, he says, the conscious and intelligent manipulation of the organized habits and opinions of the masses is an important element in democratic society. Those who manipulate this unseen mechanism of society constitute an invisible government, which is the true ruling power of our country. We are governed, our minds are molded, our tastes formed, our ideas suggested, largely by men we have never heard of. This is a logical result of the way in which our democratic society is organized. Vast numbers of human beings must cooperate in this manner if they are to live together as a smoothly functioning society. In almost every act of our daily lives, whether in the sphere of politics or business, in our social conduct or our ethical thinking, we are dominated by the relatively small number of persons who understand the mental processes and social patterns of the masses. It is they who pull the wires which control the public mind. So, he says this is necessary for a democratic society. You know, it's necessary for this small group of folk to control all ideas, to tell you how to think, you know, even when they don't tell you directly how to think. And of course, what he doesn't say is this so-called democratic society ain't a democracy for everybody. It's what you call a bourgeois democracy, where the people at the top, the ruling class, got democracy at your expense. They get to make decisions at your expense, you know, and ain't no such thing as democracy for you. You can go to the polls if you want to and vote, but that ain't gonna mean nothing. And so the thing is, what he says is to maintain order in such a society, you have to have this small group controlling the ideas out there. You have to have this small group controlling the ideas. And of course, what it really means is to maintain this relationship where all of this wealth is coming from all these peoples around the world. Part of what you got to do is convince these people who you're stealing all this stuff from that all the stuff that they're stealing from you belongs to them in the first place. That's part of what it is. And of course, they don't just do it with media. They do it with guns too. But the media plays an important role in it. Let's move. So ain't no such thing, like I said, as innocent media. Ain't no such thing as an innocent idea. Every idea out there represents a particular class interest. Even when it don't, it does. You know, even when, because you hear, you know, the media, they talk about we're objective. You know, we don't take sides. You know, we're objective. And reality ain't no such thing as objective media. You know, this is a picture that appeared with an article in St. Petersburg Times. And the headline of that article was St. Pete cop recalls harrowing day of two officers were killed. First of all, they didn't even say it right. You know, and that's exactly the way the headline is. I didn't make the typo. That was their fault. But the thing is, this article presents this person who functions in the African community as part of a terrorist organization as this great hero. This great hero who comes in and they show him with his child. You know, he's such a great father and probably a great husband, and he may be those things. But when he comes into our community, he ain't that. You know, but what the media puts forward to you is that this great guy is the guy who's coming in to serve your community. You know, he's such a great family guy. And so when he comes and he brutalizes your brother, you know, when he comes and he terrorizes your sister, you have to think, well, he wouldn't do that because he's a great guy. Must have been something my brother or my sister did. You know, it's part of a war of ideas. This is another piece from a St. Petersburg Times article. After the police came in and killed this brother and tore down the house along with all the evidence that they killed him in, you know, and this is a picture of the house that they tore down. And there was an article that appeared in St. Petersburg Times with the state attorney's clips from the state attorney's report in it that was titled "State Attorney's Report on Hydrolaser Shooting Clears Officers Praises Their Heroism." Again, these heroes, these great heroes. And if you had read that article, you would have wondered whether this was something that was appearing in the next Warner Brothers movie, because it was amazing. You know, it was so fantastic. It was something that is completely unbelievable. Of course, it should be unbelievable. It came from the state attorney's report, who justifies every time they kill an African person. You know, and in the media, you know, you have every time they do something to an African, they justify it. You know, in fact, they present an African as some terrible person. They pull out a rap sheet. If they can't find a rap sheet, they call a teacher and see if they did something wrong in high school, or if the teacher didn't like them, or if they can't do that, they find some other way, you know, say maybe he crossed the street wrong someday, you know, but the media always puts forward these ideas that justify, you know, the relationship, the terror that happens against African people and the exploitation that happens against the African people. But the thing is, you know, there's this war of ideas, and we have our own weapons in this war of ideas. We have to have our own weapons because the thing is, we can't, you know, we have to be engaged. We have to be engaged in this war of ideas. You can't be in the war and not fight, and because you're going to lose. So we have our own weapons. One of the weapons is the Burning Spear newspaper, which we began publishing in 1968. That was before we even had the African People's Socialist Party. We were Jomo then. Even as Jomo, we recognize that if we're going to be able to change the world, we got to be able to explain the world. We got to be able to understand the world in our own interest. And so we began to publish the Burning Spear newspaper in 1968, longest running black power newspaper in the world. You can look for another one that's been around longer, but you ain't going to find one. So this is the Burning Spear newspaper that's one of our weapons in the war of ideas. Let's check the next piece in our arsenal. We also have uhururadio.com, another weapon in the war of ideas. In fact, some people are listening, participating in this conference right now through uhururadio.com. And it is an important tool. We have people who tune in and listen from all around the world. We have thousands of people coming to the site on a regular basis. You know, people listening from China, from Tanzania, from Zimbabwe, from Ukraine, from Venezuela, from all around the world. We have people listening in, and it's an important tool. And it's yours. It's your media. You know, we don't just do it just for us. I don't do it, you know, just to have fun. I like, you know, to be on the radio. That's cool. But it has a purpose. It's a part of this war that we're engaged in, because we have to win the minds of our people in order to win. Because we can't. This ain't a struggle that we're waging, you know, on our own or as a small group of folks in this room. Let's move. We also have uhuranews.com, which people are watching this conference from right now. That video camera is bringing through uhuranews.com this conference to people all around the world. This is one of the weapons we have in our war of ideas. And articles show up on uhuranews.com talking about what's going down, like that Black Sunday article right there. There's this incredible event that was held in St. Pete recently, and y'all should check it out. But Uhuru News is one of the tools that we have in the arsenal in our war of ideas. We've got things like CDs, music CDs. You heard some incredible musical presentations earlier, you know, and we create music. We create DVDs, videos for the purpose of engaging in this war of ideas, for the purpose of winning our people to an understanding of what it is that's actually happening to us and how we're going to stop it. So the most important thing about this presentation is that you get involved in the war of ideas, is that you engage in the war of ideas, that you participate in this process. And, you know, we have to get better, even in this war of ideas, you know, because the thing is, you know, any weapon improperly used can be dangerous to its wielder. You know, so we have to get better at the war of ideas, and part of getting better is to bring more folks into this process. Part of getting better is for you, you know, to utilize this stuff and become a part of this process. And so part of what we're doing is in St. Petersburg, Florida. Somebody already mentioned the fact that we're doing a summer project in St. Petersburg, Florida on July 9th through August 9th. And one of the things we're going to be doing in that process is showing people how to write for the Burning Spear newspaper, how to edit for the Burning Spear newspaper, how to lay out the Burning Spear newspaper, how to produce radio programs and you know, things of this sort. We're going to be dealing with archiving we have an incredible history, a wealth of history. Both the African People's Socialist Party that's holding this event and our movement, the African Liberation Movement, and we have archives from this stuff dating back to the 60s and 70s up to now. And we want to archive that stuff and make it possible for people to have access to it all around the world. No, you're good. We've got other projects that people are going to be able to participate in as well. The development of websites and stuff like that. The use of social media. You know, because the thing is, we don't just want to use our weapons. You know, one of the things that they talked about it may have been the Vietnamese Revolution, was that that they, you know, start off with a stick, and your oppressor's got a gun, and if you beat the oppressor with a stick, you take his gun. You know, and you got another weapon, a better weapon, and that's what we do. We use our weapons, but don't just use our weapons in this war of ideas. We use the imperialist weapons. So we use Twitter, and some of us been tweeting in here. I've seen y'all, and I've been doing it too. Tweeting to put out this ALD conference and Facebook. And my time is up, but I just want to call on folks to go to that table, sign up for the summer project, engage in this war of ideas, get down with this process because we got to win, and we can't win with just the people in this room. We have to engage all of our people and win our people to the understanding that we have to be free, and how we're going to do it. So, uhuru.